Hello, everyone. Welcome to Word Funk. I am Leon Thomas, and I am joined, as always, by Johnny Maloney and Austin Yorsky. Austin was yawning and stretching, and Johnny is also tired, so we're going to have a heck of a show.
Death approaches.
It does.
Sorry.
Usually.
Yep. Listen to our biological vessels just slowly decay over time and succumb to the death that inevitably comes for all of us.
Sure. Yeah.
And also, my hip hurts.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about your hip.
It's a thing. I have bad hips, which makes me sound like way older than I am. But it's like, it's a thing that I was born with. Like my brother has it too. My dad had it, but he did not find out about it until many years as a prodigious marathon runner. That turned out pretty badly for him.
I guess.
Yeah, he had to have both his hips replaced, and there are still some sneaking suspicions that may have contributed somehow to his death.
Oh, gosh.
Well, it's when you get like artificial shit in your body, you kind of have to like make sure that you take care of it, because it's really easy for your body in crisis mode to be like, an invader, and for you to be like, no, that's my hip, and it's like, no, kill it with antibiotics or like white blood cells or something like that. And so, I mean, apparently when you have like artificial, joints or bones installed or something like that, it can lead to infection. So, anyways, I have bad hips. So
yeah, I believe you.
If I don't if I don't exercise them, or I exercise them too much, they're like, nah, we're going to be elbows today.
It sounds like a tough tightrope to walk.
It sort of is, particularly when you have a personality type like mine, which is like, if you're going to do something, you're going to go like all in. So when I go to exercise, it's like I leave nothing.
Okay.
And that can not be good for me. So
sorry about your body, Johnny.
It's only getting worse, Leon.
I guess so.
So, everybody, if you were interested in my body, it's not going to get any better than it is now.
Damn, that's disappointing. I love your body. Okay, so anyway, do you guys have any topics to talk about this week?
I really don't.
I mean, nothing happened at all this week in our world.
I feel like there's a thing we got to talk about, and we should just get to it, because otherwise, it's going to be in the back of our minds the whole time, and we'll be able to properly focus when we're making the boner jokes.
Okay, all right. So here's what's going on. Over the past couple of weeks, former Channel Awesome contributors, such as myself, have been talking on Twitter, where some of our grievances with the company were like known, some not known, but everyone just kind of like let the floodgates open. And then we decided, we should actually just make a document that explains all of the problems we've had with this company over the years, so that it's just out there, and that, people won't keep asking, hey, I heard there's this one thing that happened once at the thing, and they're like, now we can just say, oh, it's in the document.
And in an ideal world, Leon, as well, you might get someone who was in a position of power or something to see that document and be like, oh my god, I had no idea that things were so bad for you guys. I apologize, and I would love to do better in the future, in an ideal world.
Yeah. Basically, so this is what happened. Myself and Alison Preichler, better known as Obscurus Lupa, and Mars Girl, and Lindsay Ellis, and a bunch of other people who you might watch on the YouTube, but are no longer with Channel Awesome. We all kind of grouped together and made a big document list of grievances. Mine was comparatively short. I basically just talked about how Channel Awesome management neglected blistered thumbs. I was there for some of that. I mentioned like a couple other small things. So I'm in it, but I'm not the star of this at all, nor am I the organizer. But yeah, there's like more than a dozen different sections with more than a dozen different former Channel Awesome contributors,
of which Austin and I almost are.
Yeah, you guys were also involved in all this. But basically, what happened is we dropped it on Monday, and Monday night, I believe, Channel Awesome released a statement. And I think
statement is a strong word for what they released.
Yeah, I don't have it right in front of me because I don't have that kind of foresight. But here it basically said, "We're sorry you feel that way," and it accepted no responsibility and basically deflected everything onto the people who have legitimate grievances.
I thought that in 2018 we all realized that "I'm sorry you feel that way" is the most bitch-ass non-apology.
I do have it right here. The line is, "We sincerely regret you felt that way."
Yeah, we're not exaggerating. It really is bad. And here's the thing. I thought one of two things was going to happen. I thought they were going to say, you know what? Whether we're sincere or not, let's just bite the bullet, say we're sorry, and maybe we can end this before it spirals out of control. And they would leave an insincere but appearing sincere apology. And that would satisfy a lot of people, fans and former contributors alike.
Crocodile tears work, man.
But the second thing I thought would happen is they would do one that's kind of half-assed, and it would not satisfy us. And what really happened was a third thing, where it was basically them just flipping us off for this, and
but
that was
diplomatically.
Yeah, there's been a lot of bad apologies, a lot of half-ass apologies, of late, because people get caught being horrible sex perverts who do horrible things to women, and they don't know how to respond to that or acknowledge it without seeming too bad. So they give these half-ass apologies on social media and say, in my day, we just didn't know about this sort of thing, and I regret that it happened. And it's like, first of all, that's kind of bullshit, but at least you almost seem sad about it. And some people are so willing to forgive their favorite entertainers that for a lot of people, that was enough. For a lot of people, it was not. But that's what half-ass means. But this thing, I wasn't actually expecting them to leave a hostile statement, because now it's on. And it's like the worst thing you could have done. Because like I said, a lot of people would have been like, good enough. Okay, I guess we can move on from this. It's in public. What else do we have to do? And I'm sorry, but it ain't over. Earlier today, the Daily Dot got in contact with Alison Pregler and Kaylin and Lindsay, and they interviewed them, and a big feature on a pretty major news website gave a very good article about this. And let me tell you something. Without getting into too many specifics, this is not the only one that's coming. But we're recording this Wednesday night. By the time this is released over the weekend, there will be more.
And you know this for a fact.
I know this for a fact. The discussion is not over.
Obviously not.
The people who are involved in the document and the people who just left the company and everyone else, this ain't over.
They're kind of hemorrhaging people left and right now. And people who have been with the site for years too. I don't want to name names because I don't want to single anybody out.
No. But I will. I mean, we're not singling anyone out. They very publicly said they're leaving, and I'll tell you the names because it's not. This isn't a bad thing for them. They very publicly said "fuck this shit" and left. The Amanda Hagen, who I'm a big fan of and consider her a friend, she left. Linkara left, which surprised some people, but didn't surprise me too much because he's like a good person. And he sympathizes. Todd in the Shadows left. Rap Critic left right away. Suede left. Sci-Fi Debris left. I don't know this person at all, but Lewis vouches for him as a good person, so that's cool.
Sci-Fi Debris, I appreciate their work. They do some pretty... Okay. You would love their Trek episodes. They do some of the most exhaustive looks at Star Trek episodes. They're great.
All right. Mike J left kind of a I wouldn't say scathing, but a must-watch vlog about it. Rantasmo left, and I'm glad about that because I'm a big fan as well.
Here too.
Lotus Prince left. Tiger left. I don't know Tiger, but he's out as well. Omega left, not too surprisingly. And most recently, Film Brain left. And basically, there are still a bunch of producers who work for Channel Awesome and have their stuff there. But here's the thing: most of like the old guard, they're gone.
The people who arguably raised up Channel Awesome to the point where it could have a very convenient fall. Yeah, they're all jumping.
Yeah, if you watch like the Channel Awesome first anniversary brawl, I don't think you'll find more than like 1 or 2 people in there who are still with the company, to give you some idea of like what's going on here. The people who are there, with a couple of exceptions, are predominantly the people who were brought into the company about 4 years ago, who they've experienced some shit, but they didn't experience all of it because by that point the anniversary specials were over and a lot of the worst stuff happened there. And by the way, when we're talking around what all the stuff is, but here's the thing: it's 65 pages. If you want to read it, go read it. I'm not doing a live reading on this show, but it's everything from negligence and mismanaged stuff to things of a sexual nature, and it's all
you can straight up say
terrible.
Sexual harassment, Leon. Like things of a sexual nature.
There's there's sexual harassment, and there's also abuse. It's not just harassment. But yeah, if you wanna read it, it's not hard to find. I retweeted it on my Twitter timeline, obviously, on Monday, so you can just scroll there and find it. It's not hard to find. It's all over the hashtag change the channel thing on Twitter. But I'm not going to do a live reading now and go bit by bit what it is, because a lot of other people are doing that right now on YouTube who had nothing to do with the document. There's all these like live readings of it. It's a lot. So that's what's going on my end. As it relates to all of this, I'm not sure what else I can really say to it at this very moment, though.
But Leon, criticism that isn't a means to a productive end does little for either the party criticizing or those in the line of fire.
That's a lot of bullshit. Thank you for,
I love an apology that says, like, listen, you bringing up the stuff we did isn't productive.
This is unpleasant for me, for you to be talking about how bad I am. First of all, and here's the thing about that. Like, what is the end goal of this? How is this productive? And here's the thing. This isn't like a uniform thing where it's more like, you know how it's like voting. There's a incumbent and there's the challenger, and some people vote. Some people are voting against the incumbent because they think that person is just terrible and anyone else would be better. And some people are voting very much for the challenger because they really like that challenger. And some people think that the incumbent is pretty good, but could be someone could be better. And the point is, like, everyone has a different goal in this, but everyone gets a vote, is what I'm trying to say. So there's like 20 different people who did this document.
Are you suggesting that this should be observed as some kind of cautionary tale?
What I'm saying is that everyone wants something different to come out of this, but we all got our say. Is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
What I'm saying is, like, some people who are either involved in this or are people who are not involved in this but are like looking on and discussing it, like on the fringes of this, are like, burn it all down and whatever. Some people are just like, you know what would be cool? If they apologized, admitted their wrongdoing, and made an effort to change in the future for our friends who are still in this company. In some cases, just kind of
for our friends who were up until recently still in this company.
No, I still have a couple friends who are with the company. So not everyone is leaving right away, or in at least in one case, maybe not at all. So and I like no judgments there at all. You do what you got to do to what you think is best for you. So that's fine. What I'm trying to say is that when I was going into this, all I wanted is for this to be in the public, and for there to be an apology and an admission of wrongdoing, as unlikely as that seemed. Those were my goals in all of this. But now that they've released that statement as their response, I don't feel like I'm going to be satisfied with a secondary response where they say, "Oh, my bad, we shouldn't have said that." Now, because now what
if it said exactly that? What if the response to the response was, "My bad, we shouldn't have said that."
But the thing is, now any illusion of an apology being sincere is over. I mean, I will still. I mean, so now I don't even know where this ends. Now, my feeling was, all I want this to do is for us to be able to be heard, for this to be public, because people shouldn't be able to get away with stuff without accepting responsibility for it. And for me, if they just did that, I would be like, okay, I'm done with this now. I can move on with my life, and and I feel like a lot of people would have been that way as well. But they just fucked it up.
Do you think it's
badly.
obliviousness? Or do you think there's some deliberate?
Here's the thing: it's so hard sometimes to determine whether someone is oblivious or malicious.
The old adage says, never mistake evil for what can obviously be explained through stupidity. But
here's the thing. There are too many instances of it.
Yeah.
It's 65 pages of this stuff. It's too
and
much
some of
for
it's
it.
Gross.
A lot of it's gross.
Yeah.
Some of it simply cannot be explained by oopsie daisies.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Some of it is vile. So anyway, I'm not really sure how much more I can contribute at this point to this conversation, but if you guys would like to trash your former not really employers because they never paid anyone, you have the floor.
Not entirely true.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did they pay you in exposure and occasional games?
I mean, occasional games, yes.
Okay.
But there were some staff members who did actually receive money from them.
So,
okay.
An underwhelming amount of money required to work.
So really an illegal amount of money, meaning not even minimum wage. So that basically means nothing, basically.
Yes,
right?
Not only a legally small amount, but also in comparison to how much money they were making and maybe still are. They have gone on the record bragging. I mean, they make over $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people think that Channel Awesome is, this is goofy little website. Why would anyone pick on them, dude? They have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and that's not nothing. That will make you hundreds of thousands of dollars and probably more. I have 43,000 subscribers to my YouTube. It's not a lot, but if I multiply that and it got to what do I make if I made 1 million, I certainly wouldn't need a Patreon. Even a few 100,000 subscribers and not 1 million would be enough to not have that secondary source necessary. So the idea that Channel Awesome is just this kind of blip on the radar and nobody should care about this. No, they're a pretty huge YouTube presence. I mean, they're not PewDiePie or anything, but I feel like once you hit that 1 million mark, you're a player. So
at least PewDiePie did apologize for saying the N-word.
At least that fool was eventually like, oh, maybe I should save my own ass at the very least.
He didn't try the very novel strategy of, but Your Honor, my client may have done it, but come on, what are we doing here?
And that's the bizarre thing about such a vindictive statement in regards to this, because you don't. I mean, let's be real here. Not all corporate apologies are sincere. They're just good PR. It's just the
like
bottom
very
of the
recently
barrel.
When Nestle was like, yeah, sure, we believe that water is a right, but we're not going to give it to you for free, so pay up.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre how poorly they handled this.
I've gone years without thinking about this at this point. Like, it occupies zero mind space. Even when it got brought up on this show, I'd be like, yeah, it was whatever. Like, it wasn't like even a controversy to me, because it was just like, yeah, it sucked, but we've moved on. We're all like just in different phases of our life now. But after this apology, it's like, okay, I guess we're just doing this now. Are you guys ready? I guess we're fucking going back in, because fuck them.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Put on your mining helmet, Austin. Let's dig.
Yeah.
It
was bad. So anyway, I don't know exactly how this ends. I will say, some people are like, oh, this is the death of Channel Awesome. I'm not sure about that, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to give you some like figures real quick.
Listen, PewDiePie said the N-word, Ninja said the N-word, every person on YouTube said the N-word, they're all fine. JonTron said crazy shit, he's fine, everyone's fine. This isn't going to kill anybody.
That's going to be okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, people are saying, oh, for the past 3 days, Channel Awesome has lost thousands upon thousands of YouTube subscribers. And I'm like, yeah, that is technically true. But they have more than 1 million.
Yeah, YouTube viewers. I mean, what kind of psychopath watches something on YouTube? Wink.
The point is that
it may be that they're the satellite site, like channelawesome.com.
That traffic was negligible at this point.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. But, it seems like they're always in process of redesigning it so that it's, going to be better and newer and better and newer.
No,
I've been hearing that since, 2011 at least.
Yeah, the Channel Awesome website we had now is the redesign, guys. They are not interested in doing it again. And it was. I mean, look. In some ways it was better than the old one, but in a lot of ways it's still just trash. It's not good at all. And so that's, I don't think that's even on their radar. What I'm trying to say is that when people are saying that they've been losing thousands of YouTube subscribers, yeah, if that consistently happens over the next few months, then yeah, I can definitely see this causing serious financial woes for Channel Awesome.
Can we just face the fact, though, that not everybody pays attention to shit on Twitter?
I understand that, but that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Like, unless this blows up in such a way that everyone knows about it, they'll probably suffer for a while, but they'll probably also be okay. Like I said, there are more articles coming. This is going to get even more mainstream than something on the Daily Dot, but it's not going to be on CNN.
And even then, we are expecting people to have enough concern in their bones to click on that link and say, oh my god, that's awful. I should not be supporting these people. As opposed to just, scroll past it on Facebook and be like, oh, Channel Awesome. I haven't been there in a while. I wonder if there's anything funny up.
Yeah. So anyway, that is more or less what's going on. I don't exactly know how this ends, but I don't know. I doubt it's going to destroy the company. I wasn't trying to destroy the company. I was, although I'm feeling a little more vindictive now. So,
company is strong, first of all.
No, it's incorporated now. Like it's actually like it's not just like an LLC.
I'm aware of how it works on paper. I'm saying what's actually happening is like a guy yells into a camera and then another guy makes a lot of money and doesn't answer anyone's emails. It's not really like what we think of as traditionally as a company.
I gotta say, like the worst that really happened while I was working for them, but not strictly employed, was I kind of got ignored, and that was like okay in retrospect. It's like yeah, you know, like I don't think my life could have benefited from interacting with these people any more than I had to.
So we could actually sit here and actually talk about everything that went wrong. We've kind of obliquely talked around a lot of the actual substantive issues, but what it comes down to is I don't think they were actually interested in doing half the things they tried to do. It was kind of just like, hey, you want to hang out, and if you get popular, we'll collect some of your revenue too. It was they were deeply, and I guess remain deeply uninterested in actually doing literally anything else besides the one thing that got them popular in the first place.
Yeah.
And so, like, everything else was like, hey, just become popular like us, please. That's it. Like, they were not willing to invest. Like, the whole thing with the website redesign was just, like, years and years and years of trying to find someone who would do it cheaper than what it was worth. And web developers won't because they know what their work is worth.
Yeah.
And so it just languished broken because no one wanted to do it for pennies, and so it was just bad the whole time. That's like so much of it, like not the sexual harassment stuff, but so much of the mismanagement comes down to like just them being literally unwilling to do actual business stuff, like spend money on employees or get actual paperwork signed for stuff, do research on how any of this stuff works. It's just none of that happened. So,
yep. All right. Any other thoughts on this before we move on to whatever the heck else we're going to talk about tonight?
I'm done talking. I'm going to take a nap.
Okay.
Night.
All right. Cool. Well, this was like the main thing that like I had to bring to the table because I'm involved. But Johnny or Austin, if you have any other like topics you would like to bring to the table, we can do that. I have like a few little things, but nothing huge.
I don't really, you know.
That's okay.
Like I'm living a hollow life right now. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
I feel like Johnny and I are about to like reenact those YouTube videos you see of like two dogs who are trying to stand, but they keep falling asleep standing up and like leaning onto each other. It's very cute.
we are very cute.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know that I would say that our defining characteristics, either you or I, would be cute, you know, but I do think that there's a certain amount of cuteness in there. So
In there, in the folds,
yeah. Yeah,
in the crevices and the cracks and whatnot.
right, in all the crow's feet around my eyes.
I've lost
And
the plot of this conversation.
And the bags under them. Oh, I don't know. God, what have I been doing? Doing more on my movie collection.
Neat.
Like going back through my movies and watching some old Johnny Library, but I can't see it very well from here, so I don't know. I had a couple of good westerns. Yeah, I rewatched Appaloosa. I don't know if you've seen Appaloosa. That's an Ed Harris,
not.
Viggo Mortensen joint with Jeremy Irons, of course, as the villain, with Renee Zellweger as the love interest. Good western, unusual western. Doesn't really play the same kind of like, you know, when you think about the classic western, you kind of think about like, you know, there's a really bad guy in town, and then somebody good comes to town, or maybe they reverse it, like, the sheriff is like keeps a clean county, but then like somebody really bad comes to town, and then they have a couple of like long pauses in saloons.
Oh.
And then at the end, like, everybody shoots everybody. Now, Appaloosa...
Well, that's a Western.
Yeah, Appaloosa was a weird one. Ed Harris and Viggo Mortensen play a couple of guys who met during the war, who basically get hired out by towns to be sheriffs. And this town loses a sheriff because Jeremy Irons' family kills this guy, and they get sent to town and lay down the law. But during the course of laying down the law, Jeremy Irons' character is pardoned by the president of these United States of America. And, like, over the several months or years that the movie takes place, Jeremy Irons becomes a slightly more respectable character. And by respectable character, I mean he gets a lot of money and dresses better. So, of course, demands respect from the people who, like, hired Ed Harris and Viggo Mortensen to, like, police this town. So there's some really interesting power dynamics about, like, basically the industrialization of the West as money starts to, like, pour further and further west across America. What that means for, like, frontier justice and cowboy law and stuff like that. It's very well acted, too, because I don't know if you noticed what I just said, but Viggo Mortensen, Ed Harris, Jeremy Irons, and Renee Zellweger, pretty fucking dynamite cast. I also rewatched The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Ooh.
Which I thought I was going to have trouble watching again because of the Casey Affleck. But it turns out that Casey Affleck being a huge creep works really well in this movie. And yeah, I was just as riveted by it. Like, I love that movie. I love it. It's one of Brad Pitt's best performances, and one of the only examples I can think of for the defense of using omniscient narration in movies. Because they just, like, the narrator just pipes in and is like, he really liked lemonade. And also enjoyed scratching this, like, one spot next to his eye where a piece of shrapnel years ago from a logging accident, got lodged in his flesh. He could tell a funny knock-knock joke. And it's like, it's a weird... Like, it's not... It doesn't tell you how the movie goes. Like, nobody runs in and yells, "Oh my god, the most amazing action scene just happened across the street. Everybody, let's go to the window and see the aftermath." There's a weird, like, educational characterization to the narration. So I enjoyed that. That was a big one. I really, really enjoyed that. I watched Argo again as well, which was fun. But I was reminded, Leon, of that, like, that episode you did, or perhaps it was a talk that we had on WordFunk about the whole Oscar bait thing, where it's like movies... Oh,
yeah, I did a video about Oscars and qualifications.
Yeah. So, I watched Argo again, and I was like... I couldn't remember what it won that year. It was, like, I think Best Director. Or, like, Best Motion Picture. But I watched it again, I was like, that? Yeah?
It was fine.
It was. Like, I enjoyed it, but I'm like, best?
Yeah.
Maybe it was a slow year.
It's not. It's just that's just the Oscars.
Exactly.
That's
had a good
that's
cast, strong performances. I'll say that.
Sure. Yeah.
John Goodman, Ben Affleck, Alan Arkin, And it was really funny because I noticed that they had Scoot McNairy from Halt and Catch Fire. I assume people know who Scoot McNairy is.
Nope. But I love his name.
I know, it's a fantastic name. But Scoot McNairy plays opposite Carrie Bichet in Argo as husband and wife. And then in Halt and Catch Fire, Scoot McNairy and Carrie Bichet play against each other as husband and wife. I was like, oh my god! It's fucking Gordon Clark and Donna. That was weird, and probably a delight that only comes to people who are familiar with who Scoot McNairy is. But Scoot McNairy's been in like every movie. You must have seen Monsters.
Oh, the what's his face movie? They're crossing the border.
Yeah, the man and the woman who are like trying to get through sort of like the forbidden zone or whatever it is, and I mean he was in Monsters. He was in Godless, the Netflix Western that just came out. He was in a lot of stuff. 12 Years a Slave. He was in Argo, of course. Killing Them Softly. Monsters. He was in CSI.
Well, that's the big one.
Obviously, you know. Nah, you would recognize him if you saw him. You'd be like, oh, that guy. He was in Frank, too. Yeah, he played the manager in Frank, who I think, like, killed himself or something.
I remember someone had dancing legs in that movie, but that's what I remember.
Yeah. I watched a couple of other movies, too, probably, but those are the ones that stick out. Like, I watched the Batman trilogy, which just, like... the Nolan Batman trilogy.
Yeah.
Which I find gets more difficult to watch now that I know how it ends.
Oh, my. Yeah.
But Batman Begins is still such a strong movie.
I guess. I mean, I rewatched them for the episode I did about a year or so ago. And they are good movies, but I find them...
There's a kind of they're sort of self-absorbed.
Yeah, a little bit.
They are. They're really into themselves.
Yeah, and you know me. Normally, that's awesome for me, but I just don't feel like they quite stick the landing on that. But you know, I do like those movies. I don't want to talk shit about movies I actually like. Like just to distance myself from the more intense fan base of the of those movies. I do like those movies. I don't think that The Dark Knight should be on the IMDb top 10 of all time. That's a small quibble though. That's not the movie's fault. That's the fans' fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So up next I have Big Fish, which I think is one of Tim Burton's most underappreciated movies.
Okay. I haven't seen that one.
It's good. I feel like it's underappreciated.
Any other topics this week, Austin? I haven't heard your voice much at all this episode. I would love to hear it.
I know. I'm just getting to relax. It's really nice, like a vacation. I've never been on vacation. Is this what it feels like?
I'm guessing.
It's warm. I'm tired, and
that's cool.
There's a lot of wildlife in the general area. That sounds like a vacation.
Cool. I'm going. I don't have vacations, but I have working vacations. I'm going to California in June
to get that dank herb.
Oh my god! There's a marijuana dispensary like 5 minutes away from my home right now. I don't have to go to California for that. But anyway, not the important part of this. I'm going for VidCon.
So how dank is the herb that you get then?
I first of all, I'm going to cut that part out. I don't get any of it. I'm just saying it's right over there. I don't smoke the dankness. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, I'm going.
That was not like that wasn't a question about you smoking it. I just wanted to know how dank it was.
I don't know. I haven't tested its pH levels or whatever you do.
Check
to
your
test
dank
the
index,
dank.
Leon. Come on.
That's how you measure the dankness. It's pH.
It is. But yeah, I'm going to California for VidCon in June, which is almost like a vacation, except mostly I'm going to be like attending conferences and things to learn how to grow my channel.
And it's also going to be California in June.
It's just, that's when it's happening. I mean, it's going to be hot, but what can you do?
It's going to be hot.
It is. I'm going to Canada in July, like I always do, for Con
That's
Bravo.
Where I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's way on the...
in July as well.
I mean, it's going to be way the heck on the other side of your country, but yeah, I will be in Canada in July. Again, it's like it's a vacation where I work and can write it off on my taxes. That is what it is.
I like how Johnny always has a reaction to anytime someone mentions Canada. Like, that's me. Like, when I hear someone be like, "So there's some shit going down in Iowa," I'm not like, "Oh fuck, that's where I am."
Well, here's the thing. Well, that's
It's it's the most recognition we ever get.
Aww.
Like, very, very few times is anybody like, I'm going to Edmonton!
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Baltimore, and when people would mention Baltimore on television and not on the news, the local news, but like in other programs, it was always so like rare that it was like I had this distinct memory of waking up one morning and turning on the TV, and there was some cartoon, and I don't know what it was. And like the villain character says, he's like planning an attack, and he says, "We should start with Baltimore, nasty little city." And I was like, that's like, I think like the first time I've ever heard anyone mention Baltimore besides on the Baltimore news, because but this was pre The Wire. And
how was watching that show? Were you just psyched out of your mind the whole time?
No, I genuinely.
It's me.
No, I'm to be dead honest here. I actually thought I was dreaming. Like, I thought that this was bullshit. There's no way anyone's going to mention Baltimore on this cartoon. So I kind of like looked at the screen, like, am I still dreaming? And then I was like, no, he mentioned where I'm from. No one does that. That's like someone meant like that's like setting a sitcom in Des Moines. It's like it's a great place, but no one does that. So anyway, I forget what we were talking about. Oh yeah, Austin, I wanted you to talk about things. Tell me about your things.
Hang on. I need to address one more thing about this Canada thing too.
Right. Of course.
Is that I don't know if you guys know this, but for like decades now, it has been a joke to Canadian people that when you're abroad, when you're in another country, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Canada," the response is like, "Sweet. Do you know Dave?"
What?
Yeah. It is like it has been a weird reaction to you being from Canada that you must know one of the other 16 people who live in Canada.
I'm sorry. Is this a reference to something?
No, it's like it's been a running joke that it's like you go places and you say, "Yeah, I'm from Canada," and the response you get is, "That's amazing. How's Steve?" "Oh, Steve's great. Thanks."
Do you guys take turns being the Steve? Or is it elected?
It's
It's hereditary.
It's difficult because we lost the hereditary laws when we declared ourselves independent from the monarchy while still remaining as part of the Commonwealth. So there are electoral rules about being the Steve, but they are super complicated, and like I've tried to explain our elections to you guys before, and I just feel like that would take up the rest of the time of the show.
I don't want to slow the show down too much, take it backwards, but we did just glance over a real wild whack thing Leon said.
What did I say?
What's so good about Des Moines?
Actually, we'll tell you what's so good about Des Moines. I did I did a bunch of searches for big cities that are inexpensive to live in, and I did a bunch of searches for big cities that have a high quality of life, like low violent crime, stuff like that. And the only city that shows up on both is Des Moines. And because normally, if your city is very cheap to live in, like Baltimore, for example, then there is usually a reason for that. But for some reason, I guess Des Moines figured their shit out, and it's a big city that has a very high quality of life, and I mean for a big city, it's not like a gated community or anything. But it has a high quality of life for a big city, and it is also super cheap to live there. Like you can get.
So Iowa's figured out that American dream of affordable housing and also just like a pleasant neighborhood where you can say hi.
They have passed the singularity.
Iowa warps the laws of supply and demand. Economists hate him. One weird trick to fix your city.
It's very strange, but I keep looking into it, and yeah, Iowa is just again, like I said, it's not a gated community where everything is super safe, but for a big city, it is fairly safe, and you can get like a 1-bedroom apartment for like $500 a month, which is bizarre.
Okay, all right, I've figured it out. Okay, guys, I'm looking at a map right now of ley lines, and it looks like...
Shout out to Iowa, magic as fuck, Faye, love it.
Yep, apparently. But not nearly as magic as... What the fuck is that? Was that Utah? Nah.
Yeah. The thing about Iowa is that its left-leaning people are way the hell left, and its right-leaning people are way the hell right. So like Des Moines is that place that I would be comfortable living in, I guess you could say, and certain other parts of Iowa are not. They're super into politics there because they're like first in the nation for their caucuses. They think they set the tone for the primaries, and they kind of do.
Good job, Iowa.
Yeah.
It is Utah.
Oh my. Okay, so shout out to Iowa. You whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it, I guess. Thanks. So anyway, that is God, did I have any other topics? I'm sorry. Again, I keep going back to this. Austin, please tell me things that are happening in your life.
I do kind of like the running joke of us keep throwing you down different rabbit holes, and every time you come up, we bop you down like a whack-a-mole.
I just want to hear one of your topics for this week. That's all.
Ask nicely. Ask nicely.
Please.
That's what I thought. Beg for it.
Okay, I'm not going to beg for it. I do have 2 others I could do. So, TikTok.
Okay, fine. I've been outmaneuvered.
Yeah.
So I have some law stuff. I have a couple cases here about information disclosure in a medical context, which doesn't sound exciting, but let me walk you through some cases real quick. So first case, this family has a child. The child is born with birth defects, so they sue the hospital for negligence. They're alleging that the hospital did something and they were negligent, and therefore they are owed money. Then they have another child at a different hospital who has the same birth defects. So obviously you would make the inference that maybe it's genetic. So the hospital sues. Motions. It's not really super important what the difference is for that. To compel the discovery of the medical records for that other child that isn't in the lawsuit, as well as to compel a physical examination to get that information on the record. So what do you guys think happens with these 2 motions? They're the same.
First of all, Austin, I need to ask whether or not this birth happened on one of the Earth's chakras.
Oh, God.
Because I have only just learned that this is a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people made up a lot of
Earth
stuff.
Has chakras.
Yeah. I don't have anything for you. People, if astrology and all that brings you joy, knock yourself out. As long as you also support like science that helps people materially, get down with your bad self. But There's not really much to add to a thing that is.
All of this stuff is bullshit as far as I'm concerned. I'm just like, I'm deep in it now.
Yeah, I mean,
have you ever heard of the Becker-Hagens grid? No, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, if it was real, it'd just be called science, and then we could talk about it. But it also isn't. I don't think any of that's hurting anyone. Unlike, for example, that medicine stuff that is actually fake and hurting people. That I don't truck with. But
all right, okay.
Pseudoscience, that's like fanciful. It's fine. Also, as far as this case goes, there is another child they had in between the two that are important that didn't have any birth defects. I wasn't going to add that because I don't want to distract you guys from the actual issue, which is the motions for the medical disclosure. But that's also a factor. You guys you always come up with like other things that you want to talk about.
Yeah, no, all right. Laying it on the line here. I feel like the hospital came out ahead because I'm pretty sure they fucking cover their ass with like getting people to sign forms and shit like that.
I bet the hospital wins.
Okay, so we have.
I mean, I don't know the science.
What year was this? Did I'm not sure I heard that.
I didn't write it down because it wasn't important. So.
Okay. So nebulous, we'll say.
So
it's CE.
Yeah. So we have two for the hospital. In this case, actually, because the other child is not a party to the lawsuit, they do not have to disclose their medical information, and they are not subject to a Rule 35 physical examination because medical data is confidential, barring statutory exception. So when you sue somebody for medical negligence, you have to give up your information, but that doesn't compel anyone else to. Like, if I wanted to sue a hospital because something happened to me, they couldn't like make my brother give up his information because he's not party to the lawsuit. Now, that isn't always the case because states make individual laws, and there are 50 of them, and they're all wildly different. But the important thing about this case is that there isn't necessarily a physician-patient privilege. Like, you think attorney-client privilege, husband-wife privilege. The medical privilege is kind of state by state, and it's interesting how that comes into this case because a lot of people in our class were like basically okay with this decision because it's like, yeah, you know, people should be able to keep their medical stuff secret. But I was thinking about this from the other perspective. Not that this is like correct or anything. I was just thinking, imagine you're the lawyer for the hospital. How furious he must have been not being able to access like the files, which clearly proved that they didn't do anything. If that's actually what happened. I'm not a geneticist, but that must be pretty frustrating, I bet.
Well,
yeah.
I'm trying to come up with a way to say that there's an easier way to have things private but still accessible by like. But I guess if you run like, it gets tangled up in the courts, and like freedom of information and shit like that is.
Yeah, America has just an incredibly complex, convoluted, very bad medical system in a lot of ways. None of our different hospitals and computer systems talk to each other. Every state wants their own rules. Everyone has to pay through the nose for everything. It is a just severe clusterfuck in the worst ways. But also there's an intuition that a lot of people want to keep their shit private.
My medical information is tied to my driver's license.
Like physically? Or
like no, not physically, Austin. Like my state medical care card and my driver's license are the same thing.
And if you go anywhere in Canada, does that always carry over?
Anywhere.
Okay, see, that's like a functioning society. That's cool. So
I don't know how you guys do it sometime. No, I know how you do it. You guys just don't go to the hospital, am I right?
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's impossible. So next case, real quick. So this woman gets pregnant. She goes to the doctor, has the baby, gives up for adoption.
So hang on. Wait. Sorry.
Yep.
Hospital lost last case then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, which... I mean, on the facts, I think most of us are pretty okay with that because that means that a person who has a very rough medical time is going to get some help monetarily from a big faceless organization who has
Yep.
donors and stuff. But it just does signal the way that our privacy is at utmost the concern in America. I lost my train of thought. Okay, so this case, woman goes to the doctor, has a baby, gives it up for adoption. This is what's called a closed adoption. So like all those records are sealed. Neither the child or the mother can contact because they don't know who they are.
Right. I watched BoJack Horseman.
Okay. So 21 years later, the child grows up, wants to find their mother, goes to the hospital. The same doctor's there. This is in Oregon. I don't know if that matters, but like it's the same exact doctor. It's apparently very easy to track down. And the doctor lies on some forms you have to fill out to look at the closed adoption. Basically says like there's a medical need for this, that like the daughter may have inherited something, or there maybe I think it was the mother took something during pregnancy that may have affected the daughter. None of this is true, but so that they need to look at the records because of that, and this lets the daughter look who her mom is, find her. The mom has since remarried to someone else, had their own family, and is furious upon this, and sues the doctor for actually 5 different things. Something just called outrageous conduct. Well, that's a fun tort. The statutory failure to use proper care in the role as a physician, breach of a confidential relationship, intrusion upon seclusion, and the breach of a contractual obligation of secrecy.
One of those has got to land.
And then the doctor dies before the trial. So really, the mom is suing the estate.
Ooh. I feel like one of those lawsuits has to land.
We're just gonna sit here in silence.
No, I mean, like, presumably, all right, the doctor would have access to the records to check and see if there might be some kind of possible, like you said, a condition, genetic disorder, what have you. But disclosing that information to the daughter, like...
Yeah, there is a special exception if you need to for medical reasons. There just weren't any real medical reasons.
No, I support that, right?
Uh-huh.
But it doesn't mean that the mother's contact information has to be released to the doctor, or to the daughter, pardon me. Like, yeah, I feel like that's exploitative of the system. I mean, if the doctor got sued by a number of things, I'm willing to bet that the majority of them landed.
Leon, do you need help?
Because again, like America's respect for privacy.
Yeah. So it's like there's all right.
So the doctor lied basically to access a loophole to get the mother's information.
Yeah.
Based on the falsity that like maybe there's like a heart thing or something, and then the daughter gets in contact with the mom, who has a whole new family, and the mom's furious. Like, why wouldn't you be?
Yeah. I'm not sure who wins in this one.
Oh, nobody wins, Leon.
Yeah. What is the solution, I guess is what I'm trying to say, to this puzzle?
It's not a puzzle. Are you okay, Leon?
No, I'm okay. I just normally we're like guessing. Never mind.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
What? What are you talking about?
Are you guys okay? I feel like I'm the only one who knows what kind of podcast we're doing anymore right now.
No, I'm fine. We've been doing Law Corner for like years now, and Leon sometimes doesn't. It's just, do you think the doctor wins, or do you think the mother wins?
Well, the doctor definitely does not win. He's dead.
True. The doctor's estate.
Come on, Leon, roll the dice. It's 50-50.
Doctor and mother?
Doctor and mother? Mother.
Okay, so we have 2 for the doctor then?
No,
no,
I said the mother.
I'm
said
trolling
mother.
you now because this is the whole thing now.
Oh my god.
Yeah, okay. So all of the different claims get thrown out except for one, which is the breach of the physician, the confidential relationship that they're supposed to have, which is based on Oregon law. Because, as I said the other time, there isn't a codified physician-patient privilege. But Oregon, as a state, has decided that that's one thing they want to protect. It's interesting, though, that all of those other ones don't stick. So
That seems improbable to me.
yeah, she threw a lot of spaghetti and only one stuck.
Wow. That's that is very specifically interesting as a Law Corner result, actually.
And I think a lot, when you actually read the opinion, one of the things that really comes across is that they were afraid to make any ruling which would have raised liability for the daughter. Because once you start saying, like, no, something bad here happened with this information being mishandled, we need to bring the hammer down. The daughter was in on it in a major way. And at some point, the logic requires you to include the daughter. And that's a bad scene. And I think they just wanted to avoid that.
Okay, yeah, that is, like, I understand that a lot more than just throwing a lawsuit at the doctor and him not conducting himself outrageously.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, they do want to protect privacy concerns, but it's a very narrow use of it. So last case, real quick. This is actually a really famous one. I've talked about this one in a couple of different classes now, and people always have very strong opinions. So stop me if you've heard this before. There was this guy.
Knock, knock.
Yep. There's a guy who's going to a psychiatrist. He said, there's this girl, and I want to murder her. And the psychiatrist said, one moment, I'm going to go call the police. And he did that. And the police went to this guy and said, hey, are you planning a murder? And he was like, no. And the police are like, all right, bye. And they left. And then he went and murdered that girl. And so the girl's family sued what was actually the University of California, who, I don't know how exactly it's structured, but they're the ones at the end of the day.
Wait, they sued the psychiatrist?
Yes. For specifically failure to warn was what the...
Except that he did?
Which we talked about this class in class 2 days ago, and it took an hour and a half. Everyone had very strong opinions about this case.
I mean, I know that we can't go over, like, the details of, you know, of his... the urgency he may have communicated this information to the law enforcement officials.
Yeah, there's a lot. One thing is, he told the cops. The cops went and saw him. They said, quote, he seemed rational, and so they left. And then that psychiatrist destroyed the files, so that he wouldn't be linked to, basically, so that he wouldn't be implicated in accusing someone who didn't do anything wrong.
Right. That complicates it.
It actually doesn't. It really doesn't come out. It doesn't affect the outcome really all that much, but it's just...
It complicates it for me morally.
True, yeah, there's a lot of that. So, like, I got in the weeds, and my whole thing was, like, the police seem to be the point of failure. Why aren't the police in trouble? But it's like, what are you gonna... who are you gonna sue? The police have sovereign immunity. So... And also probably not that much money. It's so, yeah. So,
I don't know. I've seen some of their tanks, and
yikes.
I'll bet those are pretty expensive. And I mean, if they could just hand one of those over, I'd consider it, you know, a fair deal.
It's very hard to sue the police unless they very blatantly violate your rights on camera and you're rich or white. But
all right,
yeah.
I don't like this case, Austin.
It's very bad, but also very famous. So it's very important, and It happened in the 70s, and it's still like cited all the time.
I'm gonna make a snap-ass judgment that the psychiatrist came out okay.
Leon?
That he did his due diligence, he warned the police, and like that's all that he can be expected to do. I'm with you. Like, I mean, if there's any fault here, it's not on him not calling twice.
Yep. Leon?
It's on the cops.
I'm going to side with Johnny on this.
Okay. So, although I totally understand, and it's not you.
Oh, we're wrong.
Yeah,
we're wrong. That's the we're wrong sound.
Yeah, it's not that you said anything wrong. It's just not how the case came out. Yeah, it's incredibly controversial, partially for that reason. But no, they are liable for failure to warn, and this case establishes the psychotherapist patient privilege, which is adopted by most states. Which is why if you ever see like any kind of show where someone goes to a psychiatrist and they're like, you know, if you tell me you're going to kill somebody, I have to call the police.
This is a totally confidential conversation, unless you inform me that you're planning to harm yourself or somebody else.
This is the case they're referring to. If you ever see that mentioned, it was a whole big thing, and there's like a bunch of dissents in the case where people are saying like, if psychiatrists have to tell on their patients, no one's ever going to be honest with their therapist, and it's going to set psychiatry back decades, and all these dangerous people aren't going to seek help because they're not going to feel like they can talk openly. And also the psychiatrist did warn, and you know, so like there's like so many different ways to come at this case, but ultimately, that is how it came out. So
I feel like the best thing to come out of Law Corner is that for years now, we've basically been assembling data on how to form a judicial utopia.
Have we?
Oh, absolutely, Leon.
Okay.
You know, like
I thought we were just dicking around, but I'm down with this idea.
Oh, no. I feel like if you aggregate all this data, then people will be like, oh, obviously those are the right judicial decisions, and these are the wrong ones.
But
God.
So one very important distinction is what the case kind of turns on is that although the psychiatrist informed the police, he did not inform the girl. And that's really what this is about. Duty to warn is you have to tell. It's not you directly, but somebody at some point has to warn.
Austin?
Yeah.
It was the 1970s.
Uh-huh.
Right? You couldn't just Google somebody. You had to, like, have a book.
Yeah, they just used Yahoo back then.
Full of phone numbers. And, like, not even cell phones.
The final chapter of this...
That sounds hard.
This case, it's a very strange thing, is the guy who did the murder was convicted, but then his conviction was overturned, and instead of trying him again, he was released on condition he would return to India, which is where he was from. And so he kind of just got away.
So his punishment, he gets to go home?
Yeah. So
extradition is a thing, guys.
I know, but like,
but he wasn't being extradited for
that's
trial.
Not extradition. That's
hey, stop murdering.
Deporting.
So okay, all right. It was like, just leave. We don't want to pay for you.
Yes, basically. So that's weird. It's just extremely weird.
Questions?
Yeah, is that how you want to transition, Leon?
I just like
I'm gonna do some.
done.
I'm gonna do some very specific Johnny ones because Leon's glued to this live stream.
That just
I'm literally not watching it.
I can sense it, Leon. I can smell you watching YouTube.
I tried watching parts of it, but the chat is so vile that I couldn't.
What could they even be vile about? He's just reading a thing that
There are people on the internet saying horrible, gross, frog mean bullshit.
I've been in one of Leon's live streams.
Uh-huh.
That was gross.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, and it basically the system was malfunctioning at the time, and I kept trying to block someone, and it wouldn't do it. So instead, I had to pause what I was doing, go into my dashboard for my channel, and then I had an idea that if the chat wouldn't let me block this person for some reason, I would make their username like one of the banned words, so that whenever they would try to say something, it wouldn't work.
I like that.
So it worked, and I've done that a couple times before, because I sometimes YouTube doesn't do the thing it's supposed to do. So that takes a while. So yeah, even on my highly curated channel, there is occasional gross people. On a channel with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and it's a drama channel basically. I'm sorry, but it is. Everyone's a dick. Everyone says the words that they shouldn't use in the context they shouldn't use. Everyone doesn't care. Everyone's horrible.
Yeah, because everybody's funny. They're so funny if they say insensitive things.
Oh gosh, nothing's funnier than saying something that's hurtful,
and nothing more original either, right? Congratulations, you were the first person to think of saying this horrible thing as a joke.
Mm-hmm. All right. So anywho, let's do questions, please.
All right. First question, Gray Rick 949 on Twitter asks, what is Leon's opinion of Brock Lesnar, both the character and the performer? Parentheses, combat sports.
Yeah. Brock Lesnar is a homophobic, bully piece of trash who I don't like. I think he's a bad dude, and I don't like him being on my TV. As a profession, I'm not going to speak too much about his UFC career, because whatever. But as a professional wrestler, he used to be quite good. Now he's lazy. It's not that he's not good anymore. He just doesn't care to do the matches that he should do. And he does so few of them that you would think that he would actually bring it each time. But he doesn't. He's at a point in his career where he just wants to collect a check, show up once a month to work for 9 minutes in the ring, and be paid more than almost everyone else, and be immune to steroid testing, unlike everyone else on the roster. I don't have a strong opinion, or a good opinion, I should say, of that guy. He is bad.
Wait.
He is a bad...
illegal steroids or just regular steroids? Because why would they be against you using, if it's all scripted anyway? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying I don't understand from the
health standards. What do you mean for health standards? Because it's bad for you to abuse steroids.
Okay, I'm no expert, but I just don't see how that's WWE's problem.
It is their problem because they're under contract, and if they die because of their abusing their bodies, they are, in many cases, they are legally culpable because that happened under their watch, and also it's just I don't want to give them too much WWE too much credit, but it's also just kind of the right thing to do, to watch out for their people who they're making hurt themselves every day for years and years on end. They have a wellness policy, and you can't do certain things on the wellness policy. If you're injured, you get benched for a really long time. Some people for years, until you can pass certain tests, as we've talked about before. If you are doing certain drugs and they are dangerous, you can't, and you get suspended and then fired. It's not like it was before. This isn't the 80s where they had that steroid trial.
I mean, maybe I'm ignorant as to steroids, because I know there's some are worse than others.
It's okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Some are more dangerous than others. I was under the impression that there were ones that were relatively safe.
You can get testosterone replacement after the age of 30. It's perfectly legal, because after the age of 30, you could have low T. That is a thing. You still can't do it there.
That seems more paternalistic than anything. It's just Vince McMahon knows what's best for you because he has all the right ideas.
Sorry, it's not even Vince McMahon. I'm sure none of this is Vince McMahon's idea. I'm sure it's their legal team and doctors who decided on the list of things you can and cannot do. I'm sorry, but like I'm so happy that they're actually doing everything they can to take care of these wrestlers who used to drop dead at 40. I'm sorry, and like they can't. Here's the thing. If you can get like a doctor's note and say, hey, I should put all this really dangerous stuff into my body, and this is all perfectly legal. It's like, yeah, okay, but it's really hard to track to make sure you're doing it just right, so you just can't do it. And I'm not saying that they don't get away with it sometimes anyway, because of course they do. People find ways to get around the system all the time. But yeah, I'm more comfortable with the idea that professional wrestlers in WWE are being allowed to live into old age now, even if it means being paternalistic, as you put it. That's my feeling on it.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, going back to Brock Lesnar, he's shit.
I heard he doesn't. I heard he doesn't like wrestling. Just like he doesn't think it's a good thing.
I don't think he has any like genuine respect or love for the business outside of the paychecks that it brings him, and the fact that he met his wife through wrestling. For those who don't know, the wife is Sable. She was a very big professional wrestling star in the 90s and early 2000s, and she used to be married to another wrestler named Mark Marrow. Who, by all accounts, is not a bad person. So she's just, I don't know.
I've also just learned that
Yeah.
of the 3 sons he has, not all his kids, but the 3 sons he has, they have named them Turk, Duke, and Luke.
I didn't know that. But okay, I don't want to bash on his kids. It's not their fault.
No,
their
I'm
dad
not
is
bashing.
bad.
I'm not bashing on his kids. I'm bashing on
No.
what they decided to name them.
They just have a
Yeah.
strong affection for 4-letter names with hard consonants in there. Aesthetics.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, that's what I feel about Brock Lesnar. He's bad.
Why is he so bad? Stop it.
Sorry.
It's your fault. Let's see. The next question, Benj, Corrupted Record on Twitter asks, Austin, you mentioned you were a theology minor at college. Can you talk more about it? What did you learn? Any books you'd recommend?
The Bible?
So actually, there's a distinction here. So I minored in religion, not theology, which seems like quibbling, but there is a difference academically, and there's also divinity, which is like what you go to. So you go to school for divinity if you're going to become like a priest. You study theology if you want to learn about like the actual field of like how beliefs work broadly, like Greek and Norse and all kinds of stuff. Religion, at least in the States, means study Christianity, Judeo-Christianity. So what I did is I just read the Bible, which is very long and there's a lot of it to read and write about. So like write a 10-page essay on.
What version of the Bible did you read academically?
I don't know. It's around here somewhere. It's fucking enormous. Like
King James?
no,
No?
no. I can't remember. It's not King James though. It's not a. So yeah.
So predated King James, we'll say.
No, I think it's
Was it the Vandal Bible?
no. It's much newer, much more considered and nuanced. So King James, it has. I mean,
Was it written in contemporary English?
not contemporary, but more accurately reflecting the tone of the original. So like
I just kind of hope that Jesus at one point in time said, "Nah, dog."
yeah. So translation is an art unto itself, deciding what tone to use, what descriptors, just the cadence of the sentences. All of that seems like minor stuff, but as anime fans will tell you, it's a very big deal how you choose to translate stuff. So it can make all the difference in the world. The Bible I actually used for class had just copious notations, just like basically every
like
page.
Editor's note: Kakagurui means plan.
Yeah, all according to. Oh God! So every page was like
Keikaku.
Yeah, Keikaku.
I know.
On one page it was like the English, and the other it was like annotated Hebrew, and like at the bottom it was like explaining all of the references. Like every it's really hard to overstate how dense that text is, especially with basically the rabbinic tradition of, taking every sentence in the Bible and writing about what it means.
I'm sorry. Did you read the Jewish Study Bible? Is that what we're talking about?
I don't know if that's what it's called specifically. I can go look for it if you guys want to talk amongst yourselves.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying that's one of the Bibles I read for the movie.
This is information I would like to have in the future. It's not material to this discussion right now.
Yeah, and it did stuff like that. Like it explained, like, well, this word actually means blue.
Yeah.
But anyway,
there's one I always remember where it's like, we actually don't know what this word means. We've translated it here as, I think it was like coyotes or something, or like there's other translations that are just like wild animals. But it's like
chupacabras, obviously.
But it's like scholars, there is no accepted translation of this word. FYI, that one's always like, oh, wild. It's been a couple thousand years. You think someone would have cracked that nut, but cool. So yeah, there's a lot of that. So like, I think we've talked about before the different sources for the Gospels, but like one of my classes was like literally like there are 4 Gospels: Luke, John, Matt, what's his fuck,
Elvis,
their steez, and it was just like, so compare these for 4 months. It was like every sentence compared to every other sentence. Like, what's different? What does that mean? What is the author trying to get across? What is in history? What was going on that would have justified this change? Stuff like that. So I minored in religion, which was really just a lot of reading and textual analysis, and I majored in literature, which was a lot of reading and textual analysis. So essentially the same stuff. It was just some people believe one of the stuff happened. And the other was, I think most people agree that Moby Dick is fiction. So you never can tell. There's always people,
I don't know, man. I read a BuzzFeed article once that sounded very familiar to Moby Dick.
Do you guys know about this? The early fiction, like long form fiction, especially had this like weird conceit where it always had to be like editor's forward. I received this in the mail, the true story, like Dracula uses something kind of like this, where it's like
it's a epistolary.
Yeah,
novel.
A lot of early fiction wasn't content to just be like, here's the story. It always had to like dress it up, being like, here's some shit I heard.
Some found footage shit.
Yeah, old timey dudes were super into found footage.
Yep.
Ukrainian Iron Belly asks thoughts on Steven Spielberg as a director. We also got some Ready Player One shit, which I'm just gonna lump this all in here because I'm not seeing that fucking movie.
I haven't seen it. It's my job to eventually see it. I'm not seeing it right now.
But Steven Spielberg, more broadly, like everybody loves the classics. But does he have a strong like identity besides the fact that he just makes good movies?
He has a cohesive oeuvre in the I would say the 80s and 90s. He has like common elements like father figures and children. But he has like a father thing with Steven Spielberg. I think that stems from a lot of his issues with his father. So there's a lot of like, are you going to be a good dad characters in his movies. But in terms of what I think about him, like as a director, of course, his movie, a lot of his movies are great. I'm like a big Indiana Jones dork, and I've made that clear. And I think but in terms of his recent work, and I'm not trying to be like one of those people who thinks that like someone's early work is always better. His more recent work is mature subjects, I guess you could say. Steven Spielberg grew up, and he doesn't want to show people shooting each other as much, unless it's like unless it's like historical important stuff,
right?
And that's fine, but like I haven't been compelled to watch War Horse or Lincoln or a great many of his other recent films, and that's not like a knock on him. It's just like I don't want to watch biopics. The only biopic of his that I was super interested in was Schindler's List, which I guess marked his let's get serious mode. And that's a great movie, and I love that movie. But I'm not...
So what you're telling me is you think The Adventures of Tintin was bullshit?
I didn't even watch The Adventures of Tintin. I guess that was more like old Spielberg doing new Spielberg doing old Spielberg.
Right,
but I certainly
like the BFG.
I certainly haven't. I haven't seen that one at all. I forgot that was even him until you mentioned it. But anyway, was that was him?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. He directed the BFG.
By the way, I looked up the Bible that I have, I found it and then I looked it up online. So it's $40. School. It's the New Oxford Annotated Bible with Apocrypha.
Oh, I have that too.
It's a
Apocrypha.
It's a very large red book.
I read that too, although mine was blue. Okay. Probably. Well, of course, we probably read them in different versions, spanning different years. But yeah, I wouldn't say I read that one. I skimmed that one because after reading several different Bibles, I was like, yeah, I get this. I don't need to read a fifth one cover to cover right now. I feel like I got this down. I'm sorry. Yeah, Steven Spielberg is good, but I'm not going to watch Ready Player One. We really need to format ourselves better, guys. And this is my fault.
No, never. I'm looking at his filmography, and
it's pretty wild.
Yeah,
like
he made some good movies.
He made some. Obviously, he made some real fucking classics. But there's also a lot of stuff in here I never want to see again, like AI. Lech.
I like that movie, but whatever.
I'm sorry, Leon. You and I are just gonna have to disagree there.
No, it's fine. No, we can disagree on whether or not it's good. You can't disagree with me whether or not I like it.
True.
I think I brought this up before, but like E.T., I cannot make it through that film. I've seen it, but you'd have to pay me to watch it again.
That's fine. I think it's pretty solid. It doesn't hold up quite as well, but like what does?
Also, sorry to cut you off. I just got excited because I saw it. One of the worst movies ever fucking made.
What?
1941. Have you ever?
I haven't seen it.
Oh my lord! It is difficult to explain how bad it is. I kind of do recommend it because it's so excruciating. So there's a couple things I remember before. I actually specifically watched it because I was on a John Belushi kick, and he was coming off of John Belushi was just like at the height of his shit. I think coming off of Animal House, but I guess the script really didn't have a
for which you were not alive.
Yes, obviously this movie came out in 1979, so I was not even slightly alive. But so John Belushi was like crowbarred into the script. He doesn't. It's like an ensemble piece with like 3 different main plot lines, and he just occasionally shows up in the background doing weird faces. And there's like it's like really super weird and bad. And there's a guy who like his whole thing is he hates eggs, and he just keeps saying he hates eggs. It's hard, like I said, it's hard to even explain how bad it is because it's on another level of bad. It's not even like The Room bad because like it was a lot of money was spent on it, but it's just unwatchable. 1941.
Made in 1979 though. So
correct. So Steven Spielberg, I think that's probably after we get some distance from his career. I don't think people are going to be talking about Schindler's List. Fuck that. Indiana Jones, eat me. It's all about 1941.
Wow. You heard it here first. Austin Yorski says, fuck Schindler's List.
That's what I said.
That's exactly what you said.
I mean, obviously Schindler's List is a great movie, but I think there's a lot of movies about the Holocaust that are like, The Pianist and stuff. It's like... they are what they are, and they're important and well made and stuff. But like nothing is as much a thing as 1941 is. Like there's nothing else like it. It's so fucking bad.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'm glad I got to talk about it because I don't think anyone knows it fucking exists.
Okay. Do we want to do one more before we go?
Oh God, please help! I gotta find another question now. Let's see. I'm gonna say Majin Sit asks thoughts on the upcoming WrestleMania weekend. Parentheses sports entertainment.
Yeah. WrestleMania weekend is not just for WWE, although you would think it would be. On Friday, they have the Hall of Fame ceremony. for WWE, and on Saturday they have what is called NXT Takeover, which is their developmental territory, has their big pay-per-view. And then Sunday is of course WrestleMania. But here's the thing. Every wrestling company wants to do something that weekend to basically take some of that energy for themselves, I guess you could say. Just like, during the Super Bowl, everyone's like, we're going to have a puppy bowl during it. Like they do their own little thing for people who don't want to do that. So there's a thing like this is happening in New Orleans, so they're doing a thing called WrestleCon. It's a completely different company that has nothing to do with WWE, and they're doing a bunch of different shows all across the weekend. Ring of Honor is doing a show the night before WrestleMania that I'm almost looking forward to more. So WrestleMania weekend is like Super Bowl times a million, I guess, in wrestling, because every company wants to do a show the night before, and get all those casual fans to actually be interested in watching their show as well, because WrestleMania is the show that all like big fans of wrestling watch, but all the casual fans say, okay, I'll watch WrestleMania once a year. So there's that excitement. So I'm excited about the whole thing. Me and two of my friends are going to watch WrestleMania together and eat snacks. And WrestleMania is very, very long. It's going to last, I guess, like with the pre-show, and it was like 7 hours or something last year.
Don't the boys get tired? That's so much wrestling.
Yeah, well, it's not. They're not the same guys wrestling for 7 hours.
There's a lot of strutting, Austin, some peacocking, a little bit of smack talk that goes on, and let's be fair, sometimes lying down.
Join me in this imaginative fiction I've created, where it's just two guys in a ring, just chest to chest, nip to nip, and just kind of struggling against each other for 7 hours.
Sure.
You don't like it? I think it's a pretty good image.
I like all nips, so it's good. All right. Anything you guys want to say before we go tonight?
What do you guys figure is like the worst hole on your face to just suddenly start squirting blood from?
Ooh, nose is fine. It's whatever. That's happened. Ears is troublesome.
Yeah, not great, right?
Yeah.
Mouth.
If I'm suddenly vomiting blood, that's bad.
Yeah, but maybe you're not vomiting blood, right?
Oh, okay. Then it could just be coming out of my tongue or something. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like if blood started squirting out of my eyeballs, I would be extremely concerned.
That'd be pretty bad, right?
Yeah, I have kind of like an irrational fear of going blind. So like the idea of suddenly like blood shooting out of my eyeballs, like my eyes are having a catastrophic failure, it would be very frightening to me.
But it would also be really uncomfortable because it'd be thick and viscous and salty, and that can't possibly that would hurt. Have you ever gotten blood in your eye, Austin?
We're just okay with classifying the eyes as holes, even though they're filled. They're not sockets or like.
Look.
I mean, it's like you could dig in there and find. Look.
No, go on.
There's holes in.
What's the matter, Austin? You never cried before? You've never just had like salty water come out your eyeballs?
Well, I'm an American man, so.
So then I'm going to assume that means yes, but we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm good with that. Austin,
I knew a kid that cried blood once, actually.
What?
Yeah, in high school.
I can't top that, so.
I'm sorry to hear about your blood.
I only just remembered that. We were not friends.
Sorry to hear about your blood. This is a very good sentence, though.
It is. Anything you want to say before we go, Austin? Never. Great. God, I can't believe we've gone all these weeks and still haven't talking about how Terry Gilliam turned out to be a real big piece of shit.
It's so sad.
All the rich people are bad. I just feel like every episode we started like, hello, I'm Leon Thomas, something, Johnny Malone and Austin Yorsky, and the rich people are at it again.
Yeah.
And then we can just move on. But it's always.
It is. Okay. All right, let's go.
Baby!